Okay, hello everyone, and welcome along to Championship Drill, our kind of midweek special before kind of a few games at the weekend in the FA Cup and that as well. But we're going to look back at the midweek action. But first, kind of a couple of stories. I suppose the big news, and when we wrote up the match reports, it hadn't quite happened yet. But Cardiff sacked their manager, and it looks like they already have somebody in.
Yeah, Big Mick is coming back.
Big Mick is coming back.
I know Jerry wanted him at Preston.
Yeah. I personally would have liked to see him go to Preston because, we have a great connection with Preston and the Irish lads. And it's always an honour meeting Big Mick. But Cardiff are a huge club, and I think they have a lot of funds, and I think Steve will be delighted with that.
Yeah, I just love to see Mick back in managing anyone because he just, whenever you talk to him, he just loves football. He just absolutely lives and breathes football. And he is going to do some jobs there. His record in the Championship is unbelievable. From when he took Millwall, I think the third place there one season. Before he became Ireland manager the first time. And then he brought Wolves up. And when he took over that Wolves team, they were awful. And he built a whole squad out of the young players and buying players from lower leagues. And he got them into the Premier League and he kept them in the Premier League and then didn't quite, the same thing then when he was kind of at Sunderland and at Ipswich. He's just been so good wherever he's been in the Championship. So Cardiff, I think, can count themselves lucky to get him. But we were talking about him on the last show and we were saying, when Big Mick's around, there's real pressure on the managers, and Cardiff are the ones that thought, we're going to pull the plug here and we're going to get him in quickly before somebody else beats us to it.
Yeah, we knew it was coming though.
So.
Yeah, he's always mentioned in our shows, to be fair. But like as you say, experience speaks for itself. Like Mick is he's an absolute icon when it comes to Irish football and what he's done for our country. And as a manager, like he's really highly regarded. He's still quite young too, and he's a good kind of man manager. Like we've always had stories of players that love him and stuff. And as you say, he's definitely going to take Cardiff on the up. I'd say I'd be fairly surprised if they don't improve from here on. And you can only imagine Mick with a budget. Like he's so used to working with so little budgets, But Cardiff seem to have money. You can only imagine Mick with a budget. Like he'd really do well. And it's good news for the Irish players. Any Irish player right now that's in the Championship or in Ireland that are looking for a big move, I think Mick will he look after them. Like he knows what players to go after,
And that's it too. He has a lot of with the Irish players, he knows an awful lot of them, and not even the ones that are in and around the first team. Because I know when we were chatting with Mick, whenever it was before lockdown that time, he was talking about the likes of Dan Crowley, who was out on loan for Birmingham, playing in Holland, and the young kid that's up at Celtic that they signed from Bolton. And he just knows so many of the Irish players through all the different age groups that he probably already has his eye on one or two of them that he thinks could do a job at Cardiff that he could probably bring in on loan or permanently.
Yeah, that young lad you're right about there, I think his name is something Connell. He's at Celtic at the moment. But Mick knows the Irish League in and out. Like I know he's attended a lot of games, even when he's not an Irish manager. You'd always see him at a City game or you see him up in Dublin. And he's got a fascinating insight into kind of prospects. And I say, lads, it's only a matter of time before Jack Byrne does a U-turn and comes to the Championship, because we know he really, really worked hard to get that Jack Byrne deal. So it's a win-win for Jack Byrne. He's got a contract. He's in Cyprus, a couple of weeks out in Cyprus. He'll probably be back in the Championship now next week. There might be something there where they can terminate a contract or something.
Possibly. Other good news, I suppose, to come out of Cardiff was there was a nice interview Sky Sports did with Sol Bamba that I think might actually be up on their website if people want to check it out. And after he's gone through his first dose of chemotherapy, and he seems in good spirits. He's talking about doing his coaching badges while he has a bit of free time on his hand. And he was very excited about Mick coming to the club because he said he's someone he's talked to before. And obviously, if you're a guy, and obviously, Sol Bamba has the positive attitude that he's going to get over this cancer and start going into, he said, hopefully still play, but certainly go into coaching. Having someone like Mick around to pick his brain can only be a good thing for someone like Sol.
Yeah,
huge.
100%. And the thing as well, just Sol himself, even from interviews I've seen with him in the past, he's so a positive person.
Yeah. So he looks good. So we're going to move on to the games in a minute. The first game is the Derby game, but just before we go into that, one of the things with Derby was the takeover still hasn't happened. Rooney's getting sick of the questions.
Richard.
What did come out in his post-match kind of interview the other night was the Derby players still haven't been paid December's wages.
Yeah.
I mean, how long? Like, there must be something there. So it's credit to the players that they're still going training, that they're still giving their everything for the club, and a good win the other night. But that will come to in a second. But how long can this takeover drag on?
And
how
also,
long can they go without paying the
aren't they
players?
being sued for 2 million as well?
Yeah. I think Jerry was telling us about that during the week.
Yeah, just speaking of Richard Keogh, he's actually on the move.
Yeah.
Does he move to Huddersfield?
He's on the move. He's going to Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Big move for them. Big move for them. But yeah, it's strange. How long can Derby go on without paying the players? I mean, there has to be a point where the players
Well, the Premier League, the EFL will step in.
Like, something has to be done. And I don't know, maybe there's assurances that the owner is going to take over in the next few weeks or something that's there. But I can't keep going on with the players.
It's not encouraging.
It's not because, as you say, like if this goes on, like if they can't pay wages for 1 week, then it means they're going to owe double the week after. So it's already a lose-lose situation unless someone has lots of money and comes in. But they could end up getting points deducted, lads.
That's the thing. That's happened to Sheffield. That's what happened to Wednesday.
Yeah, because you're talking about. You're talking out, like you're saying, it's the 22nd of January, and Rooney was talking the other day, they haven't yet been paid for December. So you have to imagine they haven't been paid in January either.
Yeah.
No, the catch-up game is horrible, lads. Like, if this could be the case that Derby go on a winning streak, right, and survive relegation, and then at the end of the season, EFL will say, oh yeah, we're going to deduct these 6 points and 12 points because somewhere along the lines he covered up something, and boom, we found out, and here's your deduction. But like, it's not encouraging, and when you fall behind in anything, like it's always a double whack the week after, or it's a triple whack the week after that. Like there's definitely boys in that team that are on 20 grand a week. Rooney's probably on more than that, but it's I've never seen Derby in such a bad state, and I just think they're in trouble. But I think
this problem goes all the way back to Lampard because he 10 loan players in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, you wonder then as well.
Was that?
Go on, Jerry.
You wonder then, like, with the loan players, like, I know a lot of the clubs actually they pay for the player when he goes on loan to a club, but you could be right in the sense that he has left, he's left a little crack there in the club, Phil, like, with the whole loan thing and money being paid out. But I'm telling you, lads, Derby are going to be in huge trouble. Like, we said around October, November, didn't come out of that. They're really in deep water now at the moment, and Rooney's retired. I'm not alone. I'm saying it's the wrong move for him. Like, I know he wants to be a manager, but still a bit young. I just think they're in trouble. Like, I know they have to pay obviously Richard Keogh. There's 2 million compensation. I know Jordan Ivy's going through a tough time. He came out today. There was a big statement that he's got his own issues at the moment. Derby are in a really dark place. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they get out of it.
Yeah, but you're right though. If they get to the last game of the season and they're deducted points, they're in real
that will happen.
Yeah.
And plus, they probably need a few players into the club, and they're not going to be able to get them till they sort out the wages.
That's it.
No.
So we might as well move on to the positive Derby note from during the week anyway, which was the 1-0 win over Bournemouth. Rooney's first win since he became the permanent manager. Beilik with the goal. I know Derby were very good in the first half.
Yeah.
Could have been a few more up, didn't take their chances. But in the second half, you could see the nerves of a team that haven't won very many recently.
Yeah.
And they just went deeper and deeper and had a few chances on the break, to be fair, Derby. But Bournemouth, they pushed and they pushed. Jack Wilshere came on for a debut.
I thought Solanke missed some fierce chances.
He did. He missed a few. And it was just one of those days where it just seemed it was just Derby's day. Yeah. Like, shots were firing in that were going like centimetres wide.
Yeah.
They were so close at times, Bournemouth, to getting a goal, but they just couldn't. And I know, at the end of the day, Derby, huge win for them.
Yeah.
Were you impressed with how they defended?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Matthew Clark is immense. Like, Andrew Wisdom he's former Liverpool player. This guy was on loan at some big clubs in Austria and Germany, but like, like Colin Kazim Richards deserves a round of applause, lads. Like that man has really lifted that club. Like he's got experience, but he's really, really lifted that club. Like Nathan Derby's been immense. But yet again, that back three of George Evans, Andrew Winston, and Matthew Clark, like it's really, you know what I mean? They're really they're fighting tooth and nail there to keep the clean sheets, and they're doing a good job. But look, it was a great result. I'm shocked, absolutely shocked with the result, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought they won't equalise. As Steve said, they were kind of very edgy and cagey towards the end.
Yeah, but I don't know. Bournemouth now are kind of not on a great run themselves.
No, I think they've. I don't think they've won 4 or 5 games, is it?
Yeah, they could drop out of the playoffs if teams win games in hand.
Yeah.
And but if they can get Jack Wilshere firing, to have the likes of Brooks, Cook, and Wilshere in that midfield, that's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, that'll get them up. That'll get them across the line.
Yeah.
You know,
like
if they can.
Steve, you know Wilshere from being a former Arsenal player, like quite young, like injury prone, but if he was to stay fit, is he an absolute worldly still?
He's unbelievable. His ability to find space in the pass is unbelievable. And even the other night, having not played, I think he played once for West Ham this season.
Yeah.
There was a moment, I don't know if you remember, Phil, where he got the ball and he kind of flicked it up over his head and the defender's head and got to it on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he turned 29 about 3 weeks ago. It's not like he's 35.
Yeah.
If they can keep him fit, he's got another 3 or 4 good years in him.
Right. 2031, like,
and he's been to Bournemouth before. He was on a 6-month loan deal before there, so he knows the club. He knows what it's like to play for Bournemouth and the style of football they want. So I think it's a good move for Bournemouth. It's a good move for him, because he needs to be playing football, which he hasn't done for the last 3 or 4 years, because for one reason or another, injuries mainly. But if they can get him fit and firing, he's still an unbelievable talent, because you don't lose that.
Is it the case though, Steve, that he peaked so young? Loan was a worldly at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21. Is it the case he peaked so young and he's going to do a Michael Owen on it? Or do you reckon it's just a case of, he's been very unlucky and he can't stay fit? Because obviously he's been working with a lot of guys in America, and I know he spent a lot of weeks in America, and he's working with the best in the business. But it would be an absolute pleasure if that man could stay fit.
Yeah, I think it's kind of probably a bit of both, really. I mean, they relied on him so much when he was a young fella. They probably overplayed him, which clubs don't tend to do anymore. They kind of learned from that mistake, which kind of frustrates fans at times when you have a really good young player breaking through. You don't really understand why they're not playing them 3 times a week. But they've just learned from their mistakes that way, because when you're 16, 17, you're still growing. It's important to get that rest. And sometimes players can be overplayed, but also different kind of injuries he's had throughout the years, especially on his ankles, have been like and it's the type of player he is. Because he's skillful, he's often getting to the ball just before the defender, and they're catching him a lot, and he was fouled a lot, and he's constantly being kicked when he was younger, and I think that just took a toll on his body, like you said, as he was still growing, and he picked up a lot of like ankle injuries and lower leg injuries, and but if they can get him fit and firing, he's going to be an asset for them. And to have Brooks and Cook alongside him in that midfield, it's going to be something fun to watch, I think, because the 3 of them are just amazingly gifted footballers. But Bournemouth will need that, because they are slipping down the table.
Yeah. That's right.
I suppose we better move on to the second game, which was a kind of a strange one in terms of, we have these in them where a team wins 3-0, but it wasn't really a 3-0 match in some respects. Reading beating Coventry 3-0. O'Hare had a good chance. Ostigard, who had about 3 or 4 headers in this game that he could have scored with, he had a good chance as well. He put it just wide before Joao put Reading in front. But what was his 17th goal of the season? He's having some year for Reading.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I mean, it's like, just in the start of the second half, Rinomhota got their second goal, and then Coventry again had a few chances. Ostigard, like we said again, a couple of headers, didn't do well. And then McFadden's second yellow card kind of stopped their momentum. Great free kick then from Swift.
Yeah.
Put Reading 3-0 up. But, I mean...
feisty game,
strange
definitely.
game.
It was a feisty game. A lot of yellow cards in that game. I think it was yellow cards,
Yeah.
It was a feisty game, but it was one of those games that reminded you of kind of early season Coventry, where they just, they just went for it.
Yeah.
And they just came across a Reading team that took their chance as well.
Yeah, definitely. I still maintain Coventry they'll stay up, but this Reading team look great. And when you have an informed striker, you're on a winner. Like, you know what I mean? It'll be very hard not to keep it in playoffs. Like, so interesting times. We didn't expect Reading to be thereabouts this season, but they've maintained that form. They've been on one or two kind of losing streaks, but they've been solid. Like, to be fair, and I think they're definitely with a show, 100%.
Yeah, can you see Reading keeping it up there as well, Phil?
I think if they're there in March, yes. It's just they tend to have these blips, and it kind of goes off the walls a little bit.
Yeah, but when you have a striker like Joao, who's got 17 goals already this season,
but I know. Yeah.
It's like no coincidence that a lot of the teams up at the top of the table have players who are scoring a lot of goals.
When he was injured, they were really struggling, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were. They were struggling to get the goals, and as Blackburn do when Armstrong wasn't there for a few weeks.
Yeah. And there's an international break coming up in a few weeks.
Another one. And we'll come to the games later on, but they're kind of a bit all over the place next week because of the FA Cup and then championship games, and then some teams are playing twice, other teams are playing once. Strange one. We move on then. 2 games are called off. Blackburn Swansea was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. We had already talked that Sheffield Wednesday and Wycombe was going to be postponed because of COVID. And then we come to one of the weirdest games of the midweek, which is the 3-3 draw Rotherham Stoke, because coming into this one,
isn't this there was a weird
last 10 games?
Wasn't there a weird TikTok video going around where the lads were just headering it?
Headering it all the place, yeah. But this game was nuts. It was absolutely, like said, Stoke have been very low scoring games for the last 10. And like before that, they were in a few high scoring games, but not recently. But it seemed like every time a shot hit was on target, it went in this one. It was unbelievable.
Nick
Powell.
Powell.
Last high scoring game was when they beat Liverpool, I'd say. Well, years ago.
Nick Powell was outstanding.
He was very good. He's been good the last couple of weeks. He's been good all season, really, for him.
He might go back to
a free goal from McDonald gave Stoke the lead. There was a bit of, is it Frank Sinclair used to get all the own goals for Chelsea back in the day?
Yeah.
There was a touch of that about this one where he was about 18 yards out from his own goal, out near the edge of the box.
Yeah.
He just stuck a leg at it and went flying over his keeper.
To be fair, he was just trying to cross the ball in and it kind of hit off his leg.
Yeah, and it just went up over his own goalkeeper. It was a bizarre one. Matt Crooks made it 1-1 after Battle, who was at fault, I suppose, for this goal. He gave the ball away on the sideline, and the cross came in for Crooks to equalise. A lovely second goal in by Crooks, really. Took it well. Yeah. I suppose Smith had put Rotherham 2-1 up. In the meantime, Bat had equalised with a header, made up for the mistake, and then, like we said, Crooks' second goal made it 3-2. And then it was Powell, like you said.
Yeah.
He levelled the scores with that one. Crazy last 15 minutes. But stayed 3-3 at the end, no goals in the last 15 minutes.
I know, so there could have been a winner at the end as well. They were very close.
Both teams had great chances in the last 15 minutes, but couldn't score. There's, like I said, it was just one of those bizarre games that was just so entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's why people love the championship, because anything could happen in this match.
Yeah.
But a good point for Rotherham at the end of the day, I suppose. Even though they were ahead twice in the game, they'll be a little disappointed. I suppose they didn't win it, but Stoke have been going well, so it's not a bad point for either team. It would have been harsh for a team to lose this one.
Yeah.
I think I actually said that game was going to be a 2-2. No, I think it was going to be.
I think it did, yeah.
Close.
Yeah. It's a crazy game. We'll move on then to Watford Barnsley. And this game was kind of decided by a penalty. I don't know.
I thought it was very harsh.
It was extremely harsh because Deeney kicked the ball into the defender's chest.
Yeah.
It bounced up off the defender's chest and hit him in the arm.
Yeah. Well, I
And the
think
ref gave the
hit the
penalty.
ball to his hand, to be honest.
He tried to hit it into his hand. That's
Yeah.
what he was aiming for, but he missed. And it kind of hit him kind of under here in the side of the old chest and bounced onto his arm. Then that was out like that.
Yeah.
And the ref gave him penalty.
It should be a
Deeney's
penalty.
penalty.
Yeah.
Deeney kind of smashed it at the goalkeeper, who'll be probably disappointed he didn't keep it out.
Yeah.
Because it nearly took him and all into the net with it.
I think to save Deeney's penalty, you just have to stand there.
Just stand there and take one in the face, probably.
Yeah.
Because he just
Deeney's
thumped it
first
at him
goal.
and the keeper.
No, he scores a lot of penalties.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He just smashed it, and the
How many
keeper
goals
barely
does
moved.
he have?
Uh-huh.
How many goals does he have this season?
Yes, he's 4
Deeney,
lads.
he's got a few. I'd say he's probably under the 10 mark because he didn't play for probably the first 3 or 4 months of the season.
Okay.
I thought it was his
But he
first since he
scored a
came
few
back.
since he's been. Yeah, I know how many
no.
he has, but
Yeah, a few.
yeah, a good window for Watford at the end of the day, and Barnsley 3 defeats in a row now.
Yeah, he's 5 goals, Steve.
5 goals, yeah. And he didn't play for most of the season. I'd say those 5 goals have probably come in like half a dozen or in a dozen games or so.
And penalties.
Yeah. So it's been one of those. Watford very good at home.
Yeah.
And if they keep that up, they surely are going to be one of the teams fighting to go up automatically.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. Yeah.
Barnsley, though, are going to be, the new manager came in, he gave them a big bounce for quite a while, but 3 defeats in a row now.
I know.
Not
And
good,
they don't want to
not
keep.
good.
They don't want to keep going on one of those kind of runs because, as Birmingham City fans will know, it's very quick. You get dragged down to the bottom of that table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Sorry,
Yeah.
So, what's that, Phil?
that one question all the fans are asking, lads. It's who's the manager of Watford? It's like every 4 weeks they're asking who the manager is because he could be sacked.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Oh, I was
look,
just saying it could easily happen that they get dragged down.
It could for Barnsley, yeah. And yeah, it is kind of amazing. Watford still have the same manager that they appointed about 4 weeks ago, or 5 weeks ago, however it was. Whether he'll still be there at the end of the season, who knows? Norwich, Bristol City, Pookie was out for this one, so they had to bring in Hugel, and he didn't disappoint. He got both goals. Lovely header for.
I've never seen a one-sided. I think this is the most one-sided game I've seen this season.
It was unbelievable. It was almost, without being harsh on the Bristol City players that came in, it was not quite as bad as when Liverpool were playing that Villa team or when Derby put out their underage side. But Bristol have a lot of players out injured at the moment.
Yeah.
Cantwell was very good in this. Very, very one-sided. Hugel's first goal was brilliant header.
Second goal was debatable. I don't know.
But like, they are just the best team, it seems, in this division by a street mile.
Yeah.
You look at how good is it when you talk about certain teams that don't have a goal scorer and how they're struggling. And you look at Norwich, their main striker Pookie goes out injured. They bring in his replacement and he gets 2.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
If you look at Brentford,
that's what you want. That's what you
it's
want.
a dream scenario
It is,
for a
it
manager.
is.
Like,
it is, because if you look at, like we said earlier, like we said with Reading, if you take Joao out of that team, if you take Armstrong out of Blackburn, if you were to probably take even Tony out of Brentford, which he'll obviously be missing now, we'll come to that in a minute. But you take those strikers out of those teams and suddenly they don't look half as dangerous. But Pookie comes out of the Norwich side, Hugel goes in and they look just as dangerous.
That's it.
They're flying it. Absolutely flying it. But Bristol are going to need their players back soon because they are really, really missing them, especially going forward.
Yeah.
Do you reckon
there'll be this year?
Yeah. Do you reckon there's a circuit break coming in the championship?
I don't know, because a few of the games they're kind of pushing. The problem is you've got to pull the plug at the right time. And it's almost like they've let it go too long already.
Yeah.
Well, they have, because it's been at its worst, probably, as you know.
Yeah. So the likes of Rotherham have 3 games in hand over some teams already.
Sheffield Wednesday must be similar.
Yeah. So if you're looking at that, you've got to be thinking to yourself, well, these teams, they've got all this going on. They've got 3 games in hand. If we now stop the league for 2 or 3 weeks, that's 2 or 3 weeks more or that are gone, and these teams then are under even more pressure to make up those 3 games in hand in less of a space of time.
Yeah.
Which is going to be really hard to do. So I think they've missed their window to do it, unless things go absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I suppose. And I can't
be worse for. I maintain it probably can't get worse than it has in England.
Yeah.
Does England now has the highest debt rate in the world or something like that?
Yeah, it's getting out of control there. But the players, I suppose, are in their bubbles and they're tested every day.
Yeah.
So hopefully, things can go on.
Yeah.
We move along then to this one, Brentford versus Luton Town. 1 goal, 2 red cards in this one.
Yeah, I thought they were very unlucky.
They were very unlucky in this one. Got us with the goal. Great cross from Tony.
Yeah.
And the Iranian player tucks home nicely. Tony was later sent off. Kind of at the end of the game, there was kind of a bit of a fracas, and he got a second yellow, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Lockyer got a straight red. The 2 of them were kind of at each other. 5 minutes into stoppage time, which the managers of both teams are going to be really unhappy. Their players got sent off.
Yeah.
5 minutes into stoppage time, and will now be both suspended. Both will be suspended now for the next games. Not a great game, really.
No.
Collins had a good chance. Ray saved. I think he was offside anyway.
Yeah, but there was another chance but he was clean through, and he I don't know.
Didn't do well with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
Clark missed a great chance. I think he sent it wide as well for Luton in this one. But they gave it a go, didn't they, Luton? And I suppose Brentford hadn't played in a while. And they probably were a little bit rusty.
Yeah, I think so.
And Luton just, they give it a go, and Luton can be happy. But Brentford move up to 3rd with the win. Game in hand over Swansea, which if they win, they go ahead. And they haven't lost in the league since the 24th of October. Luton dropped down to 13th, and it's 7 defeats in a row now in games they played in London for Luton Town. So they don't like being in and around London, even though Luton is pretty much in and around London for some reason.
Yeah.
But down to 13th Luton, but I think they'll be okay, won't they, at the end of the season? They're tough to beat.
Yeah,
I think
it's good depth in the squad.
Yeah. I don't think they'll go down.
And what about Brentford? Do you think it's hard to be, when you haven't played like Sheffield Wednesday, now we're going to find it again when they come back, and they haven't played in a while. And Wickham, I think, haven't played in a few
Wickham have 3 games
either.
in hand. Yeah, they have 3 games in hand.
So it's like, and Brentford are coming off the back of having not played a few. Is it tough, you think, for them to just straight away just click back into it when they've been used to playing 3 games a week and suddenly they haven't played in a couple of weeks?
I'd say it is, but if Wickham somehow get the win on that return game, then that momentum can help them, so it can be a blessing. It just depends on how many games they have to play. In the Championship, I won't be surprised if they played 4 games a week, you know what I mean? It's that bad, but look, it's if we can get off to a good start now in that game in hand, and they have the other 2 then as well on top of that, on top of the fixtures they have, they could build a bit of momentum, so it's I'm just hoping they do it, because it'll be a great story.
Absolutely. And if we move on then to the Cardiff game that eventually got Harris sacked, they lost 1-0 to QPR. Goal from Chris Willock. I thought it was a really well-worked move.
Yeah.
The finish wasn't the best. The goalkeeper probably should have saved it. It was kicked straight at him.
It was very poor keeping.
The build-up on the move from the throw-in was quite nice, though, to get it to Willock. He didn't hit it very well, and the keeper should have saved it, and he didn't. Charlie Austin had a goal disallowed for, I have no idea why.
They said high boot. They said high boot.
I mean, the player was nearly on the ground himself.
Yeah.
It's one of those where the player ducks down, and it didn't even go near his head. It was more his chest. Strange one, I thought, to disallow for that way. But Austin and Dykes, the 2 of them up front together, looked really dangerous for QPR. Yeah. They'll make a good partnership, I think, when you've got Dykes, who's big and strong, and Austin working off him. I think that'll be something good for QPR going forward.
Austin's fantastic.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Austin's brilliant.
And it is kind of old school, the little and large kind of guy with Austin and Dykes playing together. Like it's a more modern day version of it, I suppose, really. But it'll be interesting to see how they get on if he sticks with it. And we said Harris was in trouble already. He changed the formation for this one to a 4-4-2 diamond, which kind of stank of desperation in some ways. Players didn't look like they'd ever played that way before, but they had a few chances, I suppose. Smithies and Moore, especially in the second half. Dieng made some good saves from them, but Cardiff weren't great, and I think it was the right time probably to pull the plug on the manager.
Yeah, like they have quality players at Cardiff. Like they should be in the top 10 at least.
Cardiff,
they should.
Definitely.
They should be in the top 10, but it'll be interesting to see what Mick does with that group of players, because like I said, they do have good players, and he might be able to bring in one or two more. And we move on, I suppose, Huddersfield, Millwall winning this one, big win for them. Very early winner. He took it well. I mean, the defending was atrocious because the ball just seemed to run past about everybody who was in the box. To get them alone. And he took it very well in off the post. The game was awful, though. I mean, Campbell hit the bar with a penalty.
Shockingly bad.
It was bad. I mean, that was probably Huddersfield's only chance of the game, nearly.
Yeah.
And Millwall's goal was probably their only chance of the game.
Yeah.
There wasn't many good efforts in this one. A scrappy enough game.
I was listening to the manager afterwards, and he was just saying, like, we just need the result. It doesn't matter how we get it.
Yeah, but they were so wasteful. They had a lot of shots in this game, but very few on target.
Yeah.
Which isn't great if your team is taking 15, 16, 17 shots, whatever it is, and you're hitting the target with like 2 of them. I mean, it's not great. And big win for Millwall, because I think their manager was kind of in a bit of trouble as well.
Yeah, he's on board as well.
Yeah, and they haven't been good away from home either, Millwall. So, kind of a strange one. In terms of results for that one, because you would have expected.
How was Parrott yesterday or the other day?
I don't know. I didn't see him involved in anything that I saw anyway. Unless he was one of those players in the box that
it must be worrying though. It must be worrying if you're like Spurs or whatever, loaning him out and he's not good.
It is, and I think we were talking about this online between ourselves. Was it yesterday, about just players in general, and how sometimes you do have a young guy that'll score goals non-stop, under 21s, under 23s. When they come up to senior football, some of them just can't cut it. I suppose even the likes of Francis Jeffers is an example of that. A guy that's so good underage, never really did it.
He was top level. He was okay
when he moved to Arsenal.
Yeah, when he moved to Arsenal.
Yeah, and even after that, all the different places he went around the world, and Sheffield Wednesday and he never really delivered on what he promised.
That fella for United as well, Bacheda is another one.
Yeah. And Ravel Morrison was another guy that was very, very good underage.
Wasn't there a lad for Liverpool as well, that young fella?
Conor Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
not even the forward fella, the young fella.
Aspis.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. I mean, there's been, it happens. And even if you look at Arsenal now, if you look at the likes of Eddie Nketiah, who's England's highest goal scorer now at under 21 level, you question marks whether he's going to have a good career or not.
Yeah. It's even Solanke won under 20. He won the World Cup under 20 with England, golden boot.
So
went to Liverpool.
So maybe it's a case of, I know it's very early on in Troy Parrott's career, but it might be a case of, things have to improve for him, because he's never proven it at top level yet. Yeah. And you can score all the goals and rage you want, but unless you can do it in the first team, there's not much of a career there for you.
That's it.
There's so many factors though as well. I suppose the team he's playing with, obviously they're not creating much chances. Like, it's if you went to a Blackburn, you can imagine him down Harvey Elliott up front. Like, it's a different story, but hopefully Millwall can create some chances for him. He is a product. He's not the finished product yet, but he'll get there.
All right, so we move on then to another game that had a bit of late drama. Nottingham Forest 1, Middlesbrough 2. Forest came into this having not lost in 7, but they were totally outplayed in this game, really.
Yeah, they were not.
Your buddy, Sambalanga.
Yeah, Sambalanga.
Nice finish for this one. And, he was only about 8 yards out, but he still took it
usually
well.
He'd hit the post from there.
You'd think so, or the corner flag, but he managed to put this one in. The most frustrating player in the championship.
The young lads.
He could well have been.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the most frustrating player in the championship.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, he'll get the same chance in the same position next week, and he'll hit the post with it.
That's it, exactly.
Nice, tidy finish, and they sealed victory, I suppose, second half. Saville with the goal for that one, and they just took their chances and kept it tight. Forest didn't, get a shot on goal really until they scored a goal with Doe heading in, and I don't know. And then at the end of the game, Borough were time wasting. It seemed like down on the corner flag, and Ribeiro came over, and from one angle it looks like he really stamps on him.
Yeah.
From the other angle it looks like he's kicking the ball.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the referee was looking from the worst angle.
Mm-hmm.
The linesman is looking right at it. So Forest will be, I suppose, losing 2-1. Against a good Borough side who were 7th now with a game in hand.
Yeah, they weren't very good. Like, this is probably the worst they played in under Newton.
And that's what'll disappoint them more than the result, is how bad they were.
Yeah. Definitely.
And they're getting dragged back down there again, Forest.
So that's the thing. Like, if you start losing 4 games now, the next 4 games, there'll be a big trouble.
Yeah. But Borough, 7th game in hand over Bournemouth. Win that, they go above them.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We wouldn't have saw that maybe a couple of months back, but he's been on some run with them. They're doing so well at the minute. I suppose we'll move on then to Birmingham against the Ireland B team, basically, Preston.
Yeah.
So Preston, good away win here, but Preston away from home are good. Birmingham at home are terrible. So probably no surprise in the result.
I actually thought it might have been 0-0, but
yeah.
But it was nice to see him set up the winning goal, though.
Yeah. When we've talked about Malumbi because we've seen him play for Ireland, how good he's been, and that was a nice driving run that he just took the ball and he ran with it, which is something Preston fans have been crying out for. If you look through all their forums and on Twitter and everything, is they're sick of this long ball to the forward.
Yeah.
They want their midfielders to be running at people. And, Malumbi will do that. And he did it. Set up Sinclair, who tucked it away nicely, to be fair. Potts should have had a couple of goals. Yeah. One that he saved, one he hit the post with. Strange, though. 2 teams definitely going in different directions. Preston, so up and down. They're only 7 points off the playoffs, though. Up into 10th.
Yeah, if they could just get winning ways now at home, I think they could be a playoff team.
And the thing is, if you're to say, look, we're only 7 points off the playoffs, we're 10th, we're kind of established in the top half now at this stage.
Yeah.
And we're going to be pushing towards the playoffs. The fans will be kind of happy, but they're going to be wondering, what could have been if our form wasn't so up and down.
That's it. Exactly. And they have the creative players to create chances, as well.
Yeah, Birmingham are very frustrating. They looked like they might have turned the corner with a good win at the weekend.
Yeah.
And now they lose, and they're only 6 points above Rotherham, who have 3 games in hand. I suppose Karanka said afterwards the team deserves to be higher up the table, but they just looked completely out of ideas when they got near the box.
Yeah, they don't have any creative influences in any game. Every game I see, I'm always thinking this is going to be either 1-0 or 0-0.
Yeah, and it's they're in real trouble, Birmingham.
Yeah.
Whatever about Nottingham Forest and Cardiff and Millwall and some of those teams, Birmingham are really in trouble of being dragged down into the relegation.
Yeah.
Preston, though, they signed some good players, like we talked about in the last show, up into 7 points. And we're talking about the likes of Blackburn maybe making a push for the playoffs. Could Preston be the team to make that run?
Do you know what? If they get their home win, if they get their home games on thing, they definitely 100%. If they can start turning home games into wins and then picking up what they do away from home, they definitely could be 4th, 5th.
Yeah.
They're
Okay,
really
let
good.
me put this one to you. So for like say the end of the season, let's say Preston end up finishing like 8th this season.
Yeah.
Do they need a new manager next season to just take them to that final step of getting into the playoffs?
I'm going to
If they
say
were to like
no.
miss out by,
I'm
say,
going to say no, but
7 or
they
8
need a new
points.
forward.
Yeah.
They need a forward, and in the summer, 100%. I think with a creative midfielder like Malumbi, I think he's on loan though only till the end of the season.
He's only on loan till the end of the season.
But like he does really, really well. They might want to extend it for another season.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, you never know. To be honest, if they get him back again and they get a forward player, I think that they could easily be definitely challenging up higher.
Definitely.
But I wouldn't sack their manager unless they're in the bottom half.
Yeah. Jerry, by the way, has been in touch with us. His computer has crashed, so we'll wait and see can we get him back. All right, so Jerry, you're back with us after a few technical issues.
Story of my life this week and last week, lads.
So we, myself and Phil, were talking about the Birmingham Preston game there. So just a few things to ask you on it. That I asked Phil on Preston. 2 questions really on them. One is they're 10th at the moment, 7 points off the playoffs. Can you see them making that push?
I don't think so. No, not this season. You know what I mean? I think they've been hot and cold. But I don't think they're going to make. They will be close. But it's a season where I would have said they should have made it. But I don't think they're going to come close to it now.
Yeah. And that's kind of the follow-up question. Then let's say they finish 8th. And they're like 7-8 points off the playoffs. Is it time then this summer to change the manager, or do you stick with him and just try and bring in a few more players for him?
I'd rely on maybe if the fans are back for next season, I'd keep him. But I just think managers are unfortunate. Like it's down to this whole COVID thing where teams play better with fans, and we've seen Preston's away record is incredible. The home record is shocking. Maybe the relegation zone if it was all home games, Yeah, I just they're a big club, lads, and if I really wanted Mick McCarthy to perhaps end up there, but it's I'm just shocked. They haven't been good enough this season. There's a lot of players they have to get rid of, and I'm not being harsh, but there's a lot of players that need to go, and they just need to sign new players. They need to. There's a bit of money at Preston, they signed the player already for $1 million. That's a lot of money in the championship in a sense. When we have a pandemic.
Yeah.
But there's money there. So,
we were also talking about how the fans of Preston have been talking about how they play a long ball forward an awful lot to the forwards and try and hold it up. Yeah. But we saw the other day Malumbi giving them something that they've been crying out for, which is a midfielder who will run forward with the football.
Yeah.
He could be huge.
It doesn't work. They need to statistically. They need to change. I mean, you can't. The days of lobbing a long ball into a big striker to hold it up and turn, and it's over. You need to be creative, you know what I mean. There's a lot more speed in the game today, a lot more skill. You know what I mean. It's a lot of players are going home because they know they'll get the free kicks and the penalties. Yeah. You need speed. Speed kills. So I think it's just a case of trying to buy 1 or 2 players that can. Open up that midfield and get defenders running at them where they can lay off a ball to a good striker. So it's they have to spend. It's simple as, you know what I mean. There's players out there in League One. There's good players in Scotland and Ireland that are good enough to do that. So, you know what I mean. It's just a matter of time. But this whole old tactical lob the ball high to a striker's feet and then hope for the best. It doesn't work anymore, in my opinion, unless you have someone like Peter Crouch that will more than likely be able to go towards a goal and score, but he's with fire,
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, then Birmingham, the manager afterwards saying that they deserve to be higher up the table. The point is they're not higher up the table. They're only 6 points above Rotherham, who have 3 games in hand on them. They're in real trouble, aren't they?
Yeah.
Massive trouble.
Massive. They could get relegated, to be honest with you.
So before season, it would be a disaster if they went down. It really would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll move on, I suppose, to our picks of the week in some respects. The goal of the week for you guys?
I'm going to say Hugel, Norwich.
Well, the first one, I'm assuming, the second one was happened.
First one. And also a special mention for that free kick as well.
Free kick was very good.
Yeah.
I'd agree with Hugel. I just thought the header was just so well placed.
It was great, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. I'll make that 3.
Yeah.
It's tough. Player of the week?
Nick Powell.
Yeah?
Yeah. Without him, they would have lost. Without him, they would have lost.
I'm going to say Andrew Winston, lads, for Derby County. He was solid through that game.
Very good. Beilik as well had a good game for them. I'll give it to Hugel again. I think he's just coming in for Pookie and scoring 2 goals. Your team of the week?
Probably Norwich. I never seen a team dominate as someone like that.
Yeah, they were very, very good. Very good. For yourself, Jerry?
It's a tough one. Like I could easily say Derby, but Derby were kind of veggie towards the end. But I'm going to say Derby for given all the circumstances and everything that's going on at that club. For them to get that 1-0 against Bournemouth was to me that was a great feat. You know?
I think likewise I'd give it to Derby just because, like I said, the players haven't been paid in weeks and weeks. So for them to stick together like that, great win. And then your shock of the week?
Derby.
Yeah, Derby.
Yeah.
Derby winning?
Yeah.
For me, it has to be the 3-3 draw. Okay. I didn't see that coming. Jerry did, but I didn't.
Yeah. Nice one, yeah.
So we move on then to the fixtures. Like I said, we won't have a show this Sunday as usual because there's only 4 games in the championship this weekend. So we may as well leave it till the end of next week when all these games will have been played.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone wants to hear us talk for about 10 minutes on 4 matches.
Yeah.
So Friday, Stoke home to Watford.
Stoke.
Yeah, Stoke as well. 2-1.
Yeah, I think Stoke as well could win this one. So that's a Watford banker if anyone's doing a cum later.
The bookies are sadly closed until another few weeks.
I'm sure people can find a way.
Online betting.
I'm sure they're online still if people had to. Saturday, 1 game on Saturday, QPR home to Derby.
QPR.
1-1.
Yeah, I think a draw on this one too.
I think it's the usual case of we beat the top team and lose to the next team.
Yeah, and QPR have been in good form lately too in terms of not getting results, but they've been playing well.
Yeah.
Sunday, Preston home to Reading. So, we all know Preston are like at home.
Reading.
We're going to lose,
Reading,
Yeah. I think it could be a draw, that one. And then a good game, Middlesbrough versus Blackburn.
Middlesbrough.
Sunday as well. Yeah, Blackburn haven't played in a couple of games. And they played the weekend, so they'll be fresh. They'll have had a week off. I'm going to go for an away with that one, Blackburn, that one. I don't know why.
I'll go for the draw.
Yeah, then that's the weekend games. And then there's a few midweek ones. Bristol, home to Huddersfield.
Bristol.
On Tuesday.
Bristol City.
Yeah, I think Bristol, if they get a few players back, if not, I can see Huddersfield winning that one.
Yeah.
Richard Cure for a winner.
Yeah. On top of that, then we've got Millwall home to Watford on Tuesday as well. A draw on that one. Yeah. Poor old Watford, they're having an awful week. Phil's not giving Watford a hope this week anyway. 1 point from 2 games. I can see Millwall crashing out winners in this one somehow. I don't know. Something clicked for them.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? That could be another banker Watford win. Wednesday then, a couple of interesting games. We've got Barnsley home to Cardiff. Barnsley not in great form. Cardiff. Big Mick in.
Yeah, Cardiff.
Yeah. Then we see the Big Mick impact straight away.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Barnsley are going to go on a downfall. They've lost their last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, so Cardiff plus in that one. All right. We'll move along then to...
I don't know.
What is our next game? Coventry, Sheffield Wednesday?
I don't know. Will that go ahead?
Yeah, we don't know yet. At the moment it is, but we'll wait and see.
Coventry.
It does go ahead, yeah.
Coventry as well.
Yeah.
Coventry as well. And you were talking during the week, Wednesday might have a new boss in by
Darren Moore, yeah. Darren Moore's favourite.
So if they can get him in, who knows? Maybe Wednesday then. But like I said, it's a very iffy game whether that'll go ahead. An interesting one then as well. Borough playing. They're the team that they're actually playing 2 games throughout this, as well as like Watford and a couple of others. But Middlesbrough home to Rotherham.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Game.
Yeah. I think they could, but I think I'll go with Borough in this one. And then Wednesday, cracker of the game, this one. 2nd v 3rd, Swansea v Brentford.
A draw.
Yeah.
I see Wickham have no game in this whole thing.
No, Wickham, that's what I said. Like, it might be, they could have so many games in hand. That's what we're saying. If they were to go for a circuit breaker, you're going to have teams that will be playing every 3 days for a while.
Yeah.
At the end of that. So, Wickham not playing in a while.
They have an FA Cup game, I think, at this Saturday against Spurs, I think.
Yeah. Swansea Brentford, though. You say draw, Phil?
1-1.
1-1, yeah.
1-1 I'd say as well, yeah.
1-1 else as well. I fancy it to be a draw as well because Tony's going to be suspended.
Yeah.
And I think Brentford would settle for a draw here, keep their game in hand advantage.
Yeah.
A win for Swansea would be huge. A win for Brentford would probably be even bigger because they go ahead of them with a game in hand. So we will leave it there, and we will probably be back sometime the end of next week, Thursday or Friday again.
Yeah.
And we'll also have a bit of a chat about how the team's gone on the FA Cup then as well.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we will be back to you soon.
Yep. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.